recording will be on our YouTube channel, and you'll get a link for it, so if you want to watch this again, you can. So thank you so much for joining us on our first ever users webinar for the ePanicButton, and we'll be getting started right now. This will take roughly about 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. I'm here to answer your questions till the end, so feel free to ask away. As many of you have utilized already, there's a questions tab. If you expand out the GoToMeeting doohickey, you'll see the questions tab item, and you can type in your questions, and I will not repeat anyone. I won't identify anyone, so your identity is confidential. But go ahead and ask questions, because if you've got one, I bet somebody else has that same one as well. So feel free to, throughout the webinar, to ask different questions about whatever I'm talking about or if there's something else. But at the end, I certainly will take a break and to see if any open questions may exist. Broadly, we'll talk about some recent changes, some new features you may not be aware of about the program, what we're working on right now, and then towards the end we'll also ask you about what you want us to work on, and we'll do a little poll that way. With this, we're going to just provide some tips, some ideas about how to use the program. You know, we've been around since 2008. We've heard many stories, and we've worked with a lot of companies developing their protocols and their systems, so I hope to share that with you. And I try to keep this short just to respect everyone's time, but we'll be offering more of these sessions. We'll also look at how you could set up the program, and I just went through the basics here, but maybe there's some tips there that you could see how it could apply to your organization. With that, we'll also talk about drills and how you can test it, and I've got a utility to share with you, or a spreadsheet to share with you that you could use if you want to have a very in-depth testing program. And we'll also tell you a little bit about our customer referral program. So if that sounds good, I'll get started. And again, as I said earlier, just feel free to ask questions along the way. Great. Okay, just as a little reminder, this is how the program works. By the way, we may have end users, such as receptionists or staff on this call. We may have security managers, emergency management, risk management types, overview through the program, or technical people, so we can go in any direction about the end user experience or more in depth about the integration or anything you'd like. But in short, the program can be initiated with a mouse click. You mouse over this red icon, and then the pop-ups you could click with your mouse, send it off. Each of these things has a corresponding hotkey, and you can edit the hotkey to wherever you want, so it doesn't. You don't have to use our default, whatever hotkeys you choose to use. And there's optional hardware. We're looking actually to make some of our own USB buttons, and that's what I was working on yesterday. So that'll be pretty exciting. You'll hear about that. I just thought of a thing we could do. I'll show you later about how you can hide these icons in just a little bit. So if you do any of these three things, there's three types of messages. There's the pop-up alert, there's the text messages, and there are emails, and people can get this in any combination. So you could get the pop-up, the email, and the text, or just the pop-up, or just the text, or whatever you conceive of. So when you think about, first you think about who gets the messages, and then think about how you want them to receive it. And we could configure it in any way that you like. One thing I just thought of as a little tip, I didn't put this in the slides, but I just realized a lot of people have concerns about this popping up, like they're trying to adjust their volume or some other thing in the notification tray. This is the notification tray, by the way, by the clock. But if you don't want it there, what you could easily do is just drag it out, and then it will be only available if you click on the expansion triangle. When you expand it, there it is. And vice versa, if you do want it more readily available, just drag it back down in there and it'll appear. The other option is to click Customize, and you could choose how you want the notifications to be. And whether you're using Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows 10 may look a little different. That's not anything with the ePanic system. That's a Windows thing. So just look up Windows notification tray customization for your particular operating system. So I think many of you are aware of those points already and how the program works. So let's talk about some new things. Actually, we have some questions. We want to make this more interactive. It's boring just to watch a webinar. So the thing that's unique about ePanicButton is it really could be used in two ways. It's duress alarm, like I need help, like a receptionist who's being harassed or threatened and wants help from coworkers, security guard, that's the panic button idea. However, it could also be used for mass notification, and that's why we've been going through, all apologies, but we've been going through so many different versions because we're really trying to perfect and ensure that, you know, whether it's 5, 50, or 500 people could get that notice reliably. That's, of course, a very important aspect of the program. We really upgraded the mass notification system. So that's my question for you: is how are you all using it? Is it meant for, you know, that lone worker that you want to protect, or is it meant to put it out there to folks? And let's see how people are using it. Right now, your screen should show some options, and you can click whatever makes sense to you. If you do select other, please, you know, put it in the questions, like, so the questions, like, please let me know, and I'll share that, because I'm real curious how people use it. So if you do select other, please please pop it in that questions. Let us know, and I'll share it with others. Again, I won't identify any users. I'll give it just a few more seconds, let you guys decide, and then I'm going to share the results. And again, you don't know who these folks are, so you'll be able to see that. How do I stop it? Oh, I click close, and then I click share. There we go. And you see most folks are using it for that panic button situation, like you're using it for you have a lone worker or a counselor or a teacher or someone who needs help, and they click it to get help. I hope that you could, with the new capabilities of the program, you could also see how it can be used to notify everyone of an important situation. I'll give some examples in a little bit. Oh, and some people are using it for other things, not just security, but also people are using it for medical, and that's wonderful. I'm real glad to hear that, and that's a great idea, how that's being utilized. So thank you. Okay. Hey, one little thing, okay, that I wanted to touch base on about the text messages. And I just recently discovered this, but essentially, maybe you're like me and you get like 100 texts a day, and they're from your friends and family and stuff like that. But naturally, you know, when you hear your text notification, you kind of ignore it or you look at it away. But absolutely, with the ePanicButton, you want it, you know, responded. You want people to know that, hey, this is an ePanic alert. So one thing is iPhones. So what you want to do is create a contact called ePanic alert, or whatever you'd like there. And what you want to do then is establish a unique notification tone. You might have done this for your ringtones, like, you know, when your wife or husband calls you, you got a separate ringtone just for them. Well, you could also set a different tone when a text comes in from that contact. To my understanding, I'm not an iPhone person, but I was playing with my daughters, and she, you know, is able to do that on her phone. That's the default feature for iPhones. Androids are a little bit different. Androids, you have to actually download an app, and I'm not trying to sell anything. We don't make any money from this or anything like that. I just do my own search, and I use Ringo. Being the Android person, go to your Google Play. You can look up ringtone customization apps and find things, but this one had a good rating. I use it, and it's good. Now, with this, what we've done is you create the we created a blog post. So if you go to resources, go to our website, click on resources, click on our blog, and then right there, ePanicButton tip. And I'll send this to you directly. Just email me if you want help, or call me and we'll walk through it together. But essentially, you create the contact and then add these short codes. And short codes are something unique for text messages. But if you have AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile, use these short codes. If you use Sprint, use these codes. So add that as the phone number for the contact. Then whenever you get the pop-up, boom, or whenever you get the text, it's going to make that unique sound. One thing I'm working on now, I just got to find the time to do it, is I'm going to create a special tone just for ePanicButton. It'll say something like ePanic alert, and it'll have like a robot kind of voice. So you'll hear, it won't be a noise, it'll actually say ePanic alert, and then you'll know, hey, look at your phone, it's something important. So I hope that's helpful. I was pretty excited about getting that to work on my phone. I have the little minions from Despicable Me saying, ePanic alert. Kind of cute. All right. Another tip that I want to say is people talk about how you actually use the program, like for that lone worker that's being harassed. We do have the foot pedals, and that's something you consider getting, and that's pretty discreet because they're not going to see you under the desk stepping on the foot pedal. But the thing that people use a lot is the keyboard, and what they do is they pretend, let's say you have an angry person going off on you, make up some excuse to be hitting your keys, like you're looking up something or you're trying to find an appointment or schedule something or dig up information that they need, whatever it might be, so that you can discreetly hit off the hotkeys. Now, ideally, you can set it to anything you want, like Control F5 or Alt 7 or whatever. But if most of your staff don't recall it, other folks, what they've done is they put little labels. You can get overlays. We used to even have these ePanicButton logo ones, and if that's a request, we can sure make a whole bunch more. But I mean, just as simple, you go to like the dollar store and you get all these little stickers, and these little dots are tiny. They're about they're really just like half a centimeter across. They're very small, and that can be put in the corner of the key, the two keys that you need to hit, and then that way you'll know, hey, the two keys with the red stickers on them, that's what you press when you want to set it off. So that's just another tip to help people remember which hotkeys to do and how to discreetly set it off. Let's talk a little bit about some recent enhancements. You might know about this already. That's great, but in case you didn't, I want to let people know. One thing is, like, a lot of people have it going like office-wide. Like, try to imagine like a 20-person office, and it's sort of like a cubicle farm, and if you hit the button, then 20 computers go beep, 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 and people have a concern about either being too disruptive or B, tipping off the bad guys. So the bad guy's like, hey, what did you do? Why is their alarm going off? What you can do is you can mute the alert. And let me pop out and go to the administrative thing, and I'll just grab a button, and let's say I'm going to create a new button. It's right here when it says mute sound. Just change that to yes, and then it means it's muted. I wonder if that's too confusing. Maybe we'll switch it to say sound, and then we'll have mute or sound. But I think you're smart enough to figure that out. Do you want the mute? Do you want the sound muted? Yes or no? It's pretty straightforward like that. So that's a request that somebody had, and we put in that feature so that the buttons are silent. You'll still get the pop-up, it just won't make any noise. Another very important part of version 4, and this is really a fundamental, it's just really the core of how it operates, is that we've gone to a single relay system instead of peer-to-peer, which had its good points, but one of the drawbacks was how many users going online, offline, computers falling asleep, waking up, and it was trying to keep traffic. Try to imagine a campus with 500 people, 500 times 500 connections. Now we're talking about hundreds of thousands of connections need to be maintained. But the single relay allows us to send it to anyone with an internet connection. So this is just a graphic. I just pulled a graphic off the web. But the point is, I can send this to someone in Singapore. I can send this to someone at home. I can send this to someone. As long as we have an internet connection, you can send an alert to anyone. And so I hope that helps you think about some possibilities now for moving forward. And I'll tell you about the other developments that where this single relay point really helps us now expand out to do some other cool stuff coming down the pipes. All right, another important feature that we recently added was preventing false alarms. So basically we have a send delay. Let me pop up and show how to do that again. I'll create a new button. And right here it says send delay. You could choose for it to be 0, 5 seconds, or 10 seconds. Naturally, 0 means immediately. There's no delay. So you click it, boom, it's gone. But if you look at my test button, I just created a test button earlier. I click it, and now I have 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds to cancel it or send immediately. Let me show that to you again. I could cancel it, or I could send right now, Or if I wait till the end of that countdown, if it goes down to 0, it goes off. So that's pretty neat. So when you think about it, if some bad guy makes you get up out of your chair, they come in and they threaten you, and you have just in time to hit that button or use your keys, and then they say, come here or get away from your computer, that countdown will still go on, and if you can't cancel it or send immediately, it's going to go out automatically. So that's a pretty neat feature. Now, I assume most of you all know this, but there is a way that you can confirm receipt on the messages. If you get the pop-up, let me switch to, I think I confirmed both of them, didn't I? Yes, I did. There is a check mark right there that if you get the pop-up, you could stop it by clicking that check mark. And I did it for these two messages. And what that does is on the sender's computer, if you look at that red icon down here on my notification tray, it becomes a green check mark, which is pretty good. What that means is the sender knows someone manually clicked this. If technically, it went through, but the person could be not at their desk or taking a nap or, whatever. They just didn't actually see it. But if someone clicks that, that's the only way this will turn into a green square, so it's good to go, that someone's aware of your situation is going to respond. If you want to set it back, you just right-click and set reset icon. That is going to be a thing that we're going to do like after 10 minutes and automatically resets. That's something we got down the pipes. Just, we got a lot of development ideas, but that one's not that key, but it'll be nice to have, so we'll have it at some point soon. But we have a lot more important things, which I bet you will agree is more important. Okay, yeah, this is the big one. So, bigger than resetting the icon. I don't know if there's anyone there from IT are involved with the rollout, but, we do have very large clients as well, like 2,000 users, and you can imagine pushing that out and setting up all those things can be laborious. And some network administrators, some IT directors like to have a firm hand on their workstations and who does what on it and setting it. So the point is, instead of allowing the end user to modify the settings, we'll use Active Directory integration, which basically means when someone first signs on, so you install the program, and the first time you log in, we're going to take that user's credentials and put in a name, phone number, stuff like that. There will be a requirement to make sure you have a location field, because people, I'm not too familiar with Active Directory, I haven't too much work with it, but probably the most important part of the ePanic profile is where are you? So we'll have to make sure that that we have a field created and populated a value in this location field so that we can populate this information. So when it's sent, people know, hey, this is Johnny over in the front desk area or whatever you'd like. I hope that makes sense. Oh, I know what you're going to ask. By the end of the year, we need to have this finished and ready by the end of the year. So that's our goal, and I think we could easily do that actually. All right. Please, hey, there's a question. Thank you. Is the AD integration going to be something that can be turned on and off? Yes, absolutely. So believe me, I thought it was going to be simple, but it's going to be really a setup utility. So every time someone logs in, it will not change. So it's just the first time. To tell you the truth, the way it's going to work is we're going to create a separate integration utility program, and you'll import a table. Just give us a spreadsheet, or you can use your own. You'll have the ability to do this. You can just import a table. It'll populate our users table. Where did it go? It'll pre-populate it. So then when someone logs in, it's going to find their machine name and then be like, boom, okay, this is your user, these are the group you're in, and these are your buttons. So it's not so much that it'll be turned on and off, it's just that you will choose, someone has to go, hey, I'm going to push out this integration now with this rollout. So it'll be very purposeful. I hope that answers your question. Good question, though. That's something I struggled with, because then we were like, well, then every time someone logs in, it's going to change the location field, and it got very complicated. So we had to limit the integration ability. And we didn't. The hardest thing with this program is how do we make it accessible and versatile for everyone, but at the same time that it can also be easily controlled and not versatile. We don't want it to change. We want it to be consistent, and that's the two things that we challenged and we work with. But we went with, making it a little bit harder to integrate just because you have to, purposely turn it on, but that way you have more control. Hey, okay, that's great. So that's a lot of the system updates. We'll talk about some future ones and requesting and find out what you want a little later, but I thought I would go over the system protocols. And by default, as you know, we have a support and security button. If you create any new groups, by default, you'll have these two buttons. And it's really, people ask me, okay, well, what do you do when someone gets a support button? What do you do when you get a security alert? That really depends upon your company, your workforce, your issues. So I'd be glad to work with you. I'm actually a security person, and so I love talking about this, and I'd be glad to have a separate call. But there's no cost for that. If you want to have an hour conversation, go over your security protocols, I'd be glad to do that. And I have quite a bit of experience in setting up like workplace violence policies and things like that. But the idea is the support button should be utilized often. I really encourage people to hit it a lot, because this is when you're just feeling uncomfortable or you're feeling overwhelmed. This is the front desk where maybe they're not in danger, but they got like 50 people and someone's being a little loud and difficult. Not even dangerous. It could be like just your complaining, whiny person that just demands all your attention. You could use this button to get the help from your coworkers and managers. However, your security button would certainly let someone know that it's much more urgent, and you can have a protocol, your own training and procedures, that if this button's used, that's when somebody manually grabs their phone and calls 911. By the way, this is not meant to be a big training. We have a separate webinar called Prevention Teams, and it really gets into the nitty-gritty of how you respond, de-escalating response, how do you walk into the room. I couldn't fit this all in 20 minutes. It's really more of a full hour presentation. But I'll offer that again, especially if you guys are interested. The other point I want to make about groups is, please understand that, I hope you understand, you can create different groups, and groups just means template of buttons. So if let's say you're in Texas, if you're in the Dallas group, you have the Dallas buttons. If you're in Houston, you have the Houston buttons. And that makes sense because you can have the same buttons like support, security, or 911, but naturally you have different receivers, because it doesn't make sense for someone in Dallas to get a pop-up from someone in Houston, because they're not going to get in a car and drive over. So that's one idea of groups. However, please understand that you could also create role-based groups, meaning you might give certain buttons or authority to certain individuals that you don't want to give to your average staff person. So your staff will have support, security, or I need help buttons, but things like lockdown, maybe you only want your managers to be able to call a company-wide lockdown. That's just an example. So that's another idea. Okay, one thing, as you mentioned, I talked about it before, you have the desktop alert, you have text message, emails, but think about who's getting them and how they're getting them. Obviously, if it's going to interrupt what someone's doing or emailing or they're working on a presentation, those are the ones for some reason, you want them to do something right now, whether it's come run and help or come run away or lock it down or whatever it might be. That's who you want to get the pop-up alert. Same idea with text messages. Again, because someone's maybe walking in the hallways or whatever, send them a text, because most people carry their phone on them. And I covered earlier how to create a special ringtone so they know, hey, wow, that came from this person. I need to look at it. Again, they're providing that reaches with the email, because people don't continue, like I check my email like every half hour or so, but it's really meant for the managers and special people who want to be notified, like they're kept in the loop. And I often say with the security or the 911 buttons, that's pretty serious. If someone hit a 911 button, well then if I was the risk manager, if I was legal counsel, if I was the general manager, if I was the C-level executive, I'd want notice. Hey, at the Dallas office, the front desk, someone hit the 911 button. I would certainly want to follow up. And I'm just curious. Hey, it's nice to have some interaction. How do you prefer to get the messages, like for yourself, or how do you like to send it? Do you think it's best to get all three? I believe you can hit multiple ones. So, oh, I see that one of the options is combination. So I'll just give this a little bit. And golly, we're already at almost a half hour. I apologize. This is the first time doing this, and I always wonder how long it's going to take. All right, I'm wrapping it up, folks. So I'm wrapping up the poll. So vote quickly, please. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, and then I'll share that. And you can see that people use the combination. You know, if not the combination, then it's mostly just the desktop pop-up alerts, and that really makes sense. That's our flagship issue. But I bet a lot of people probably use emails and, text messages and the pop-up. That way you can feel pretty good that, you know, that person's actually going to get it and see it and move forward. The email is a nice feature. And again, one thing with our system, you can have as many emails as you'd like, so feel free to use that up. Now, as you know, you can create all these different buttons. You can have one button, you can have 20 buttons. One recommendation is to keep it simple. For your average staff, I would not do more than 3 buttons or 4. It depends on who they are and depends on what the buttons are, but keep it simple. Now, I'll talk about the 911 button in a little bit, meaning it will literally call 911. Not literally, but it'll go to a call center and they call 911. You may want to create a special button, which really means, hey, if you get this, call 911, because at the moment, the ePanic button does not contact 911. We have another comment or a question. For security, desktop alerts direct to dispatch, text to all others. For medical, the desktop to emergency responders, and text to management. So that sounds great. So you got different messages going to different people. Naturally, you want security, you're going to dispatch, and then the medical, you said the emergency responders, that might be those people trained in first aid. Many workplaces, wisely, I think it's a great thing where you see those AED devices, the artificial defibrillators. They're simple to be trained on. They're pretty foolproof too if you weren't trained. But you know, that can really help save a life, which is really great. So great example of a medical button. And by the way, one of our options, we're working on creating more, but one of our button options, where is it? Button. One of our button options is the medical bag. So, you know, let me create it real quick. Medical, med. I'll just show you what it looks like. All right, see that? So that'll look like a little medical bag when it goes through. All right. What other things I was going to show you? Other options is the lockdown. I mentioned that. That's really for the mass notification system. We feel a lot more confident now that it'll go out quickly to a large number of receivers. So the one point is naturally, this is a no-brainer, but I just have to say it. You have to create policies and procedures and do trainings around this. ePanicButton is just a tool to communicate, but when you press it, what you do when you get it, that's a whole other bailiwick. I do a lot of training around that, so I'd like to give you my materials to support you, but I hope you can appreciate, I wouldn't just create a lockdown button and assume people would know what to do. I just gave a presentation about active shooter drills, and I'd be glad to share that with you if you'd like. Medical, weather, certainly. I just heard that Oklahoma was designated as the earthquake capital of the world. There's more earthquakes in Oklahoma than anywhere else. I thought that was pretty interesting. But that's certainly a natural use for it. The other point that I think is really neat about ePanicButton is how quickly you're able to send out create new buttons. And my feelings on this are that workplace shootings and active shooters are incredibly rare. And so even though we provide this for you know, hopefully we can use it to save a life and it's important, we really emphasize the low-level threats, like people being harassed and yelled at and cursed and shoved. That happens every day. But if you have a new situation like a stalking, let's say you just fired an employee and he made threats, or I do a lot of work around threat assessments on domestic violence, stalking, domestic violence in the workplace. I do a lot of work there. And it's pretty serious. 75% of the women who are killed at work are killed by ex-husbands, not a coworker or a disgruntled client. And that's aside from robbery. Robbery is a separate issue. But with that, if you have identified a new threat, so it's identified and assessed, that's a whole other world right there on how you do that. But the one thing we can do is create a button specific to that threat. So there's a guy named, I'll just pick on myself, Johnny. Johnny's been fired. He says, I'm going to come back and kill you all. Well, do an assessment. You determine it's real, create a Johnny button. And so the idea is that those who have a view of the parking lot or the front desk or can see Johnny coming, you can hit that button. And now it's not just a security or a danger. You know specifically, hey, that threat, Johnny, he's here. And then whatever protocols you have set up in place, follow through that. It's calling 911, going to lockdown. It's very important if there's certain people that are targeted that they know because that person's probably coming after them. Let me also do a test, and we thought about what kind of polls we can do, and here's something that might be kind of interesting. I mentioned for women that most homicides are from intimate partners, and with your organization, what are you worried about? I see people are concerned about angry clients. Are you worried about that stranger, like people coming off the street, or robbery-related issues? By the way, this follows the California OSHA model of type 1, 2, 3, and 4 that you can see. And so angry clients, I want to respect everyone's time. I said this was only the half hour. We've gone over that, so I might wrap up the vote pretty quickly and see. Okay, just a few seconds, folks. Whatever you think. Just want to close it up. Or okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, and now what do we see? People are concerned about the clients, and that's primarily right, because especially the vast majority of the people looking to use the ePanicButton are, people have a front desk and they're dealing with, upset patients or visitors or government entities, and they have, just citizens upset and coming in and making a fuss, and that's the big threat. So people are mostly concerned about angry clients, and that makes good sense. The one thing I thought about, and I don't know what to do here, but with disgruntled workers, there's the issue where, because they're employees, would they know that you have the ePanicButton? It may be that we do have some companies that use it for internal threats like employees, but it's just for HR, it's just for the EAP, it's just for their managers. But the question is then, does the general staff know that they got this panic button on their computers? Obviously, if they're using it for this purposes, I would keep that discreet, naturally. But that's sometimes a challenge too as well. All right, so thank you. That was very interesting. Here's some other points, and I know ePanicButton is a security, safety, emergency management tool, but it truly can be used for anything. It's just a communications tool in essence. And one thing that I think is pretty handy is if you have the type of organization you get a lot of visitors, like there's case managers who have clients like 5 clients a day, or a law firm. I've seen this used in law firms where again, they have customer or their patrons, clients, customers coming in, and the receptionist can call, hey Johnny, your 2 o'clock is here, or whoever. One receptionist created a row button, so she had a lot of buttons. There was like 9 or 10, but it was for each person, and she'd click on Tom or Mary or Joe or Felice or whatever, and it just sends a pop-up and a text to them saying, hey, you have a visitor here. And it just saved a lot of time. I know it doesn't take much to pick up a phone, dial, and tell someone, but imagine just clicking 2 keys on your keyboard and boom, you're done. I thought that was pretty neat. I've seen people use it as sort of a mass notification, not for emergencies, but saying, hey, we have a town meeting, we have a company-wide meeting at 4 o'clock. Everyone show up there, and some organizations use that. I haven't seen it used this way, but I think I'm just trying to think of ways to use it. I don't know if any factory or inventory sales situation where you want to quickly let everyone know, hey, we're out of a certain product, or in reverse, hey, we got this new product. If you need to notify your whole staff of that, if it's sort of real time, like I'm trying to think sales or constantly making calls, you can send an email out, but people, like I said, sometimes may not check their email after an hour, but they can sure get that pop-up saying, hey, we got those new widgets, new supply, or we're out of that supply of widgets, and they can cancel it. Here are some other options, and this is sort of a joke, but it can be used for this. Get me out of this meeting, and this is where we have a manager who is maybe someone came in and wanted to discuss something with them, and they can discreetly hit their foot pedal, and then their administrative assistant gets a pop-up in the text saying, get me out of this meeting. I've also worked in very large places where it was typical for some reason there might have been free food, like we do these events and then we bring the food back from the event and we put it in the break room. We're like, hey, there's cake, or there's free pizza. And it became this big deal. I know I'm making, it's not that important, but it kind of became a big deal, like who knew about the free pizza in the break room? And it was sort of like to be egalitarian. I said, hey, we got to make sure that everyone knows everyone has a fair shot at getting free food. That's another use. Any other ideas? Please share them. Spit them out. Maybe you're thinking of them, maybe you've got them. Go ahead and type it in, and we'll share that with everybody else. So, other systems. Now, let's talk a little bit about testing. Oh, feel free to let me know about other uses of ePanic. I'll interrupt what I'm saying to let others know what brilliant idea you've got. So broadly, there's always a technical test. Just click it to see if it's going out. While one thing that can be done is just notify. If you have a small office, say, hey, we're doing testing, let everyone know this is just going to be a test, and that's obvious. Because it's so easy to create a new button and to delete a button, and as I mentioned, you can have certain roles. Maybe you have an emergency management team, and only for that group, there's going to be a test button, and boom, there you go. Only they have it. Just make sure that people realize that it says test. As you could tell, I was doing some, I'll show you later, with my profile, I fill in all my fields saying test, and so I was doing some testing for someone, and then it's really obvious it's not an emergency. Now, of course, you can always do this regularly as you see fit. The one thing I would do after you test it is there's a couple things. On your end, you all can always look at, let me actually log out and go to my, regular account. Okay, under, oops, oh, I did it again. Under events, here you can see when it was being pressed, and that way, if you press it, you'll know who sent it, which button they sent, and then the date and time. Oh, one note, I forgot to mention this. One thing we are working on now is changing this to fit your time zone. So you'll be able to edit what time zone you're in, and this will adjust to that time zone. So right now, I believe it is Central Time. These are all Central Time, which is where our servers are based. But you'll be able to edit that soon. It's supposed to be done this week. Okay, so one little note about that. Let's see. The other thing I want to mention is how you're responding. Again, I have a separate webinar based on how you respond and what you do to respond. But if you're going to test that support button, I do suggest if you do the role plays, people hate role plays and they always feel awkward and silly. That's why sometimes I suggest finding a third party. Maybe someone will do this as a favor, or one of your vendors can help you, or a friend, whatever it might be, but get them to be that third party, because people are, it's just when your coworkers are going to goof off and make a joke of it, but if you don't know the person, if they're good actors, it could work. What you want to do is test how quickly people arrive and then how they come through and handle it. Again, I've got a separate training about how to handle that. But one of the questions is how fast they get there, and then also looking at you don't want a bunch of people running in, and that's something you want to test. How well is it handled? If you have 5 people all trying to intervene, that could complicate things and make it worse. So I often recommend just one person dealing with it and then other people providing support, securing the area, monitoring for escalation, and other factors. Now for the security measures, that's a very important issue. For instance, you have a lockdown. one thing I created, and this is in your attachments. If you open out your GoToMeeting interface, you'll see that one of the options says handouts, and I created a spreadsheet, and it looks like this. Essentially, you could there's two ways of looking at it. You could look at the mass notification, and let's say it came from the police chief and the emergency manager and the chief, deputy chief. And you have your list of receivers. Again, you can put people's names down here. You can check when they got the alert, when they got the email, and when they got the text. Or did they get it? So you could put null or blank if they did not get it, and we can investigate afterwards. So that's the mass notification sheet. I kind of just reversed the columns and rows to make the duress. So the idea here is you've got a bunch of senders, like a bunch of employees and sending out stuff, just put in their names, and then there's a security guard 1, security guard 2, security guard 3. Did they get the alert? What time? Did they get the email? What time? And I guess you can see how it's done. That's in there. By the way, you also get in an email following this webinar, you'll get an email to this link, and then you can download it as you see fit or whatever. That's just a tool we thought might be helpful. Before the end, can you please confirm, here's a question for someone. Before the end, can you please confirm the previous version allowed you to move the buttons around on the screen, such as move, okay, yes, okay. That's a good point. I didn't put that down as one of our feature requests for the poll, but I'm going to mark that down now. In a previous version, do you see this, the pop-up, the black squares? This will be permanently on the screen, and you can drag it around the desktop, so it's permanently on there, and it can be clicked. Yeah, that would be easy to do. We just gotta do it, and I'm gonna add that on as a request. So no, we don't offer that now. Yes, we can easily do it. I'm sorry I can't give you a date or a deadline, but I think that could be done in one of our, that's a small development thing, so I think that could be one of our small batches in the spring. I doubt it'll be done this year, just we've got a lot going on with that active integration and other points. Great, but thank you for sharing that. That's really, really helpful. Oh, hey, just moving on. Oh, this is important. This is something from my security hat role. If you do the security or 911 call things, do not do it as a surprise drill. Like, oh, let's see if people really do what they're supposed to do, and we click it. And heaven forbid, do not dress up like with a ski mask and have someone run around your office with a shotgun and threaten people. If you think that's stupid, is that a harsh word? Yeah, it is. If you think that's a bad idea, it is. And second of all, what you might surprise you is how common that is. I could go show you some news articles going on now, but there are campuses being sued by students and faculty for undue emotional stress for doing these surprise drills. So that's my word of advice. The worst possible thing that could happen is if you do have someone running around with a gun pretending to be a bad guy, there's lots of good people who have concealed carry who will end up shooting that person, and that would be a tragedy. So don't do that, please. Hey, moving on. So thank you so much. That was a great idea about the moving icon click window, and we'll put that on there. But one thing is, we got some things that are definitely happening. So almost all of these things are going to happen as sort of a question about when our order of rollout. We have it arranged already for 911 calls. We did the business end. That was the hard part. Now we just got to integrate the technical part, which is actually the easy half. So please understand that unless you're city or county or government, you cannot send to police or a sheriff's department directly. They just don't want it. So the way the alarm industry works is there's a call monitoring center that we would send to the call monitoring center, and then they would call your local law enforcement. So that's how it works. If you want that, mobile apps. So now, yes, we're talking iPhones and Androids, and two things. A, there'll be a pop-up. So it's kind of redundant because you get a text anyway, but with this, we could override your, well, it depends on iPhones are different, but we may be able to override your mute, like if you have your phone on silent, it might override that. and then obviously we can have it vibrate like 20 times, so it really grabs your attention. The thing that held us back from the mobile app situation was the sending, to click the button and it sends out that you're in trouble. I had concerns about if you're in a basement, you have no cell signal, no GPS signal, then it's kind of useless. The solution is to create these transmitters throughout the organization, and that was just, I didn't want to go there. So it's just a lot of hardware and a lot of development, and it's going to be outdated in a couple of years anyway. So looking at the numerous mobile apps out there, it seems like there's plenty of people that are willing to still have it with that limitation. So that's going to come out. Pre-configuration settings for different industries, so you can say, hey, I'm a hospital, and it will automatically have that. I think the dashboard's okay. You know, this dashboard is okay, but it could use some work. You won't hurt my feelings. You can tell me what you really think. It could use some work, and we're going to make it more drag and drop, big icons, big obvious stuff. That's something I already did the mocks for it, or did the mock-ups. A very important issue, and I apologize. Some people, I may have made promises before, but I thought we'd have the Apple version ready, but it's so many things going on. One of the challenges is actually if we do it for iPhones, it'll work for iPads, and creating an app for it, which will then be possibly available for notebooks and Apple workstations. And do you have any other ideas? So as I'm going to launch a little features thing, see what you think, but then if you have any other ones, please type it in. So thank you so much to the person who reminded us about the desktop, the buttons permanently being on the desktop. That's a good thing to know. But, oh, hey, people are saying they want the easier dashboard interface. Yeah, I agree. And that would be so simple. I mean, I could show you the mock-ups that I did, but we're just going to have like 3 big icons: users, buttons, groups. Oh, and logs, so 4. You have logs, users, groups, and buttons, and that's it. But a lot of people also are requesting the app. Let me wrap it up, because I want to respect people's times. Okay, I'm closing it up, folks. So, ready? It's closing. Closing. And I'll share. The dashboard, great point. I think that would be pretty easy. Right now, we are doing the preliminary work to create the app. So I was surprised. I thought it would be a lot of work and a lot of money, but it's actually not that bad. Actually, there's so many people. What I was doing is I was trying to find people who already created it and then just saying, hey, do it again for us, and that's the way to go. So that's something that's a priority for me in the spring, is that mobile app, or after the first of the year, even hopefully in this winter. What else we got? Apple version, connected online is important. But then the dashboard, that helps us. Thank you. That was really, that was good. Oh, the better graphics on the pop-up. You know, this is okay. You know, the main thing we did when we created this is we just wanted you to get the message. But I don't think it's that shocking. I mean, I want it to be big, and if it's security, we'll have a shield, and if it's medical, then we'll be obviously like a medicine bag, or if it's support, it'll have another image. But we just want it to be more intuitive, and that won't take much work to do. So that's really helpful. Thank you. Hey, just a couple of points and sort of, you know, wrapping things up. I just want to say, you might see this from our demos, but, you know, it's being used by other people successfully. We're really happy. We're sad to hear that you needed to use it, but we're happy to see that it was done. Please, you can send it to me now or reply in email. If you've ever used the ePanicButton, you know, let us know. And of course, I respect it. If you don't want it to be identified, we could always say, you know, we might say what state you're in the industry, but that should be, you know, anonymous enough for you. So please let us know your stories. Here's another one. Golly, we're real happy about this. You know, my nurse had a knife pulled on them, and the fact that we could get the support there really makes us happy. And we're glad. You know, really, honestly, you know, we're trying to really, you know, we're trying to make money to feed our kids, but you know, we're really trying to do something that can really help communities and workplaces and people stay safe. Final thing, I just want to wrap up because I went a lot longer than I thought I was going to go. We do offer a referral discount. So if you know someone, if you think of someone, maybe I'll call her. Just give us like a little heads up. Hey, someone, it could go both ways. You could contact them and have them contact us and say, hey, Jerry over at Brockton Health Department sent us. We'll mark it that way. Or just contact us directly. Just saying, oh, hey, I talked to my friend at this place. Here's their number. I let them know that, we like it and they might use it as well. Please, as soon as they, if they purchase it, then that's awesome. We would be glad to give you a discount on your next subscription renewal. So we'd be glad to do that as well. We also have reseller programs as well. If you have a lot of people, then we'll actually kick back some real, cash to you. So that's something to consider. So please consider letting us know about other people who like it, and we'd be glad to give you a discount. Folks, wow, I'm going to have to mark this down as a full hour webinar. Questions, other things that we could do better, other ways you've used this, other features. That's the big one. That was very illuminating. When you told us about what's important to you, I was surprised about the interface being easier. I always thought that, it could be better, but it's not too much of a hassle. But making it better is obviously good. And we knew the app thing, in today's world, everything's going mobile. So that's just the reality of technology in general. So thanks. As you can tell, I'm sort of hemming and hawing, pausing to see what you want to say next. But please let us know if there's anything we can do to help. Again, we have plenty of model policies, procedures. ePanicButton is just a tool in a much larger toolbox, and we have those other tools in our toolbox that we can provide not so much products or services, but model policies, protocols, articles. One thing, I don't know if you know, I track workplace violence cases, and if you ever want to know what's going on in your industry or in your state, for instance, here are all of my coworker assaults. These are all cases of coworkers or ex-employees committing assaults, and I could break it down to industry, time of the year, what state. So, if you're doing a training, I'd be glad to share with you some examples. All right, hey, thanks so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for using ePanicButton. If there's anything I can do to help, let us know. We're here to help. Okay, thank you. The sun has finally come out down here in the southeast, and I'm going to go maybe get some sunshine. All right, so thank you. Take care. Stay safe, and let us know if there's anything we can do to help you. Thank you.